The glittering facade of the world's most famous monarchy has always relied on a carefully choreographed illusion of unity, where every public gesture is dissected for hidden meaning and every smile is weighed against the heavy burden of tradition. In the grand reception rooms of Buckingham Palace, under the warm glow of crystal chandeliers, the members of the House of Windsor gather to present a united front to a global audience that hangs on their every move. To the casual observer, these high-profile gatherings appear to be a testament to family solidarity, a visual confirmation that despite the personal trials and public storms that have battered the institution, the core remains unshaken. The cameras capture the elegant attire, the polite nods, and the seamless adherence to protocol that have defined royal public life for centuries, offering the world a reassuring image of stability and continuity. Yet, beneath this polished surface, a much more complex and intriguing dynamic is quietly unfolding, one that speaks to a profound shift in power and a subtle restructuring of the royal hierarchy that few truly comprehend. If you find these deep insights into the hidden mechanics of the royal family fascinating, please consider taking a brief moment to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an exclusive update on the stories shaping our world today. It is within these fleeting, seemingly insignificant moments of public interaction that the true temperature of the royal household can be measured, revealing the subtle tensions and evolving alliances that never make it into the official press releases. A single gesture, shared between prominent family members in the full glare of the media spotlight, can carry a weight that far exceeds its brief duration, serving as a catalyst for intense scrutiny and speculation among those who know where to look. While the legacy media often focuses on the grand pageantry and the official narratives carefully crafted by palace public relations teams, the real story is frequently found in the margins, in the split-second interactions that occur when the participants believe the world is looking elsewhere. This intriguing duality between the public performance of harmonious family life and the private reality of shifting authority forms the backdrop of a modern royal drama that is currently transforming the institution from within. The atmosphere within the palace walls is charged with a quiet intensity as two distinct philosophies of governance and family management begin to collide, representing a generational divide that will inevitably shape the future of the monarchy. On one side stands the traditional approach, which seeks to maintain a broad, inclusive tent where family loyalty and traditional values dictate that internal disagreements are buried deep beneath a veneer of absolute solidarity. This philosophy values the appearance of a large, unified family where past grievances are ostensibly set aside for the greater good of the crown, creating an inclusive environment where everyone has a place. On the other side, a sharper, more pragmatic vision of the future is beginning to assert itself, one that prioritizes efficiency, public accountability, and a streamlined operation that leaves little room for sentimental concessions. This evolving perspective is driven by a keen awareness of modern public expectations and a determination to insulate the core monarchy from the liabilities and controversies that have plagued its extended branches in recent years. The tension between these two competing worldviews is not just a matter of personal preference. It is an active, ongoing negotiation over the very nature of royal authority and how it will be exercised in the decades to come. As the older generation endeavors to maintain a sense of continuity and benevolent inclusion, the vanguard of the next era is already establishing its boundaries and signaling that a new set of rules will govern the household. This quiet struggle for influence manifests in subtle but unmistakable ways, from the strategic leaking of future policy intentions to the meticulous management of public appearances and internal logistics. Those who observe the court closely have noted a distinct change in the atmosphere, a sense that the center of gravity is shifting toward a more assertive and forward-looking center of power that is willing to challenge long-standing arrangements. The implications of this shift are profound, affecting everything from the allocation of royal properties and financial resources to the long-term status of extended family members who have traditionally enjoyed the perks of their royal heritage. As this hidden narrative continues to develop, it becomes increasingly clear that the modern monarchy is navigating a critical transition, where the traditions of the past are being actively re-evaluated through the lens of future survival and relevance. Every public event becomes a stage where this internal dialogue is played out in code, through the subtle positioning of individuals, the warmth or coolness of personal greetings, and the carefully timed releases of information to the press. The public is left to decode these signals, piece together the fragments of a complex puzzle that reveals a house divided not by malice, but by fundamentally different ideas of what it means to rule in the modern age. This captivating interplay of tradition and transformation creates a palpable sense of anticipation, as onlookers realize that the grand institution they are watching is quietly rewriting its own rules behind closed doors. The balance of power is never static, and in the current climate, the maneuvering between the established order and the emerging administration suggests that the future of the crown will look vastly different from its past. As we prepare to delve deeper into the specific events and revelations that have brought these internal dynamics to light, the stage is set for a revealing exploration of ambition, loyalty, and the relentless pursuit of modernization within the world's most enduring dynasty. The delicate dynamics of this shifting royal landscape were brought into sharp focus during a recent public reception, where a fleeting interaction captured the attention of astute onlookers and ignited a storm of commentary across social media platforms. As Prince William arrived at the gathering, he leaned in to greet his cousin, Princess Beatrice, with a swift peck on the cheek, a gesture so rapid and momentary that a viewer could easily have missed it in a blink. To the casual observer, this brief display of familial warmth appeared to be an encouraging sign of solidarity, suggesting a harmonious relationship between the future monarch and the extended branches of the family. However, this seemingly innocent exchange took on a far more complex and dramatic meaning when viewed in tandem with information that was simultaneously being disseminated to the public. Behind the scenes, while this public demonstration of affection was taking place, an entirely different narrative was being orchestrally communicated to the press by the future king's strategic communications team. Reports quickly surfaced in the Sunday Times detailing a starkly different reality regarding the living arrangements and financial support traditionally provided to the York princesses, Beatrice and Eugenie. The briefing explicitly indicated that the current arrangement, where the king had been covering the costs of their rent-free properties for years, was deemed entirely unacceptable by the next in line to the throne. It was made abundantly clear that such financial concessions and subsidized lifestyles would not be permitted to continue once a new administration took full control of the crown's resources. This sharp dichotomy between an affectionate public greeting and a cold, pragmatic policy briefing sparked intense discussion, leading many to draw comparisons to the classic cinematic betrayal of Fredo in The Godfather, where a kiss signals a profound and permanent shift in loyalty. The incident served as a powerful illustration of the real-time power struggle occurring within the palace walls, demonstrating that a superficial gesture of family unity must not be mistaken for an endorsement of long-standing financial privileges. This development highlights a fundamental disagreement on how the royal family should present itself to the public and manage its internal resources, particularly concerning the roles and expenses of non-working royals. King Charles has long favored a more traditional, expansive view of the family, desiring an atmosphere where everyone shows up, past grievances are put aside, and the family appears as a unified, benevolent entity reminiscent of the Victorian ideal. He actively wanted the York princesses present at major events, viewing their inclusion as a symbol of a normal, cohesive family that can rise above past controversies and maintain a broad front of solidarity. Prince William, out of a deep respect for his father's rank and current authority, has generally cooperated with these wishes in public, appearing alongside his extended family with appropriate decorum and respect. Yet, beneath this compliance lies a firm determination to implement a radically different approach, one that views the continuation of historical privileges for extended family members as a significant liability in a modern era focused on accountability. The briefings, originating from the future monarch's camp, increasingly look forward to his own eventual reign, setting out clear terms that signal an impending end to subsidized housing and semi-public financial support for relatives who do not perform official full-time duties. These forward-looking statements, often characterized by a definitive stance on what will happen when a new sovereign takes the throne, are known to cause immense frustration within the current king's administration. King Charles, throughout his decades as heir apparent, strictly adhered to the tradition of participating in the narrative of his mother's permanent tenure, rarely casting his eyes forward publicly or briefing the media on his future policy intentions. In stark contrast, the current Prince of Wales appears to be actively operating a shadow administration, consistently positioning his team as the voice of the future and establishing parameters that challenge current palace practices. This proactive stance has created a palpable tension between the two courts, as the younger generation seeks to distance itself from the decisions of the past and carve out a leaner, more modern institutional identity. This internal friction is not a new phenomenon, but rather the continuation of a pattern of independent action that has previously caused significant disruption within the royal apparatus. A prime example of this occurred during a high-profile diplomatic visit when Prince William was traveling for an important engagement in Saudi Arabia, a tour that had required substantial logistical and political investment from his staff. While the future king was airborne, his team took the unprecedented step of issuing a joint statement concerning renewed and highly damaging public allegations surrounding Prince Andrew. The situation had escalated following the public reappearance of disturbing historical photographs, prompting the younger prince's camp to urgently demand a decisive public distancing from the disgraced royal. For weeks, the current king's office had delayed and hesitated, reluctant to take a final drastic step against a family member, a pattern of procrastination that had been visible during previous crises involving the Duke of York. Recognizing that the ongoing controversy threatened to completely overshadow his diplomatic mission, Prince William took matters into his own hands by releasing a statement expressing deep concern over the allegations before landing. This independent move reportedly caused immense anger within the king's office, who felt that the heir had overstepped his authority and preempted the sovereign's official position. In a rapid response that further exposed the lack of coordination between the two households, the king's office issued its own profound statement of concern just as the prince's aircraft touched down on the tarmac. While the content of the king's announcement aligned with what his son had been requesting for weeks, the timing of its release completely derailed the media coverage of the diplomatic tour. International journalists and photographers who had traveled to cover the arrival in Saudi Arabia immediately shifted their focus to the developing domestic crisis, with many booking flights home rather than remaining on a tour that had been rendered secondary by the palace's own internal communications chaos. This incident highlighted a profound breakdown in organizational discipline, drawing sharp criticism from observers who noted that in any standard corporate environment, two divisions releasing conflicting or uncoordinated statements on the same critical issue would result in immediate disciplinary action. The separate operations of the various royal courts frequently create an impression of a fragmented institution, failing to realize that to the wider public, they are viewed simply as a single family, whose internal divisions undermine their collective effectiveness. The balance of power shifted even more dramatically during subsequent periods of health challenges within the family, when a significant amount of administrative influence naturally gravitated toward the younger prince's court. However, as current medical treatments show positive results and indicators suggest a return to long-term stability for the reigning monarch, an active effort is underway to reclaim that central authority and reassert control over the family's direction. The king's administration is firmly signaling that the era of forward-looking briefings must be curtailed, insisting that the current rules and structures will remain firmly in place for the foreseeable future. This ongoing tug-of-war over policy, funding, and public relations defines the current atmosphere within the monarchy, where every public appearance and every leaked report serves as a tactical move in a broader, silent negotiation for the soul of the modern institution. The ongoing scrutiny surrounding the royal family's internal finances took a more serious turn when the National Audit Office uncovered details about the funding of these private residential properties. It emerged that the substantial rental costs for certain non-working family members were not being met through private commercial means, but were instead being covered by the king using funds derived from the Duchy of Lancaster. This revelation drew sharp criticism, particularly as palace officials attempted to deflect the controversy by characterizing the situation as part of a complex administrative legacy inherited from the late Queen Elizabeth. To many observers, attributing the persistence of these financial arrangements to a monarch who passed away 3.5 years prior seemed an audacious defense, especially given that the current administration had maintained these payments throughout its tenure, rather than implementing immediate reforms. This debate over accountability and the use of semi-public funds highlights the deep divisions regarding fiscal transparency in the modern era, a stark contrast to the challenges faced by those family members who chose to depart from the institutional structure altogether. For Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the pursuit of an independent, commercial existence outside the royal framework has revealed the harsh realities of sustaining a global media and philanthropic brand without the backing of the crown. Their transition to a private commercial model was initially marked by high-profile deals with major streaming networks, yielding significant financial returns that offered immediate security. However, the long-term sustainability of this media empire has faced considerable headwinds, forcing a dramatic restructuring of their operations and a substantial reduction in their permanent staff. At its peak, their venture employed 16 full-time staff members to manage their various commercial and charitable endeavors, but that number has since dwindled to an optimistic estimate of just 5 core employees. This steep decline in personnel speaks volumes about the commercial reality of their independent path, where the massive overhead costs of private security, high-end residential mortgages, and administrative infrastructure must be constantly balanced against unpredictable incoming revenues. While their initial corporate agreements provided substantial payouts, the challenge of building a lasting entertainment identity that can consistently fund their specific lifestyle requirements remains an ongoing hurdle. Beyond the financial mechanics, the transition has exposed a fundamental divergence in personal aspirations and worldviews between the couple, presenting a complex emotional landscape that complicates their public endeavors. Prince Harry, having grown up within an environment completely insulated from the practicalities of everyday commerce, has often been described by close sources as having a limited grasp of real-world costs and financial sustainability. His upbringing left him largely oblivious to the transactional nature of ordinary life, leading to instances where his unfamiliarity with standard corporate etiquette and financial scales surprised seasoned business executives during high-level meetings. Beneath these commercial struggles lies a profound sense of personal loss regarding his homeland, his former duties, and the supportive infrastructure that once surrounded him. Sources close to the situation suggest that his departure was accompanied by a quiet, unspoken hope that his absence would create a noticeable void within the royal apparatus, perhaps prompting a reconciliatory call from his brother to request his return. This desire to be needed by the sibling with whom he was meant to share the institutional burden represents a deeply human vulnerability. Yet the reality has unfolded in a completely different direction. The Prince of Wales has continued to thrive within his expanding role, establishing a firm and popular trajectory that leaves little practical necessity for his brother's return, a dynamic that intensifies the emotional weight of the estrangement. This sense of isolation from old friends, family networks, and the traditional philanthropic platforms he excelled at has made his current path increasingly difficult to navigate. In contrast, Meghan has shown a much more astute understanding of financial management, micromanaging expenses, and remaining highly conscious of the commercial realities facing their brand. Her aspirations appear aligned with a modern, high-profile American lifestyle centered on glamorous entrepreneurial success and global influence, akin to prominent figures within the international elite. This divergence in focus between a traditional desire for institutional philanthropy and a modern pursuit of commercial lifestyle branding has created a visible disconnect, most notably in their approach to digital media. While Prince Harry has actively engaged in legal battles and public statements, criticizing the commercialization of his personal life, expressing profound distress over the pressures of public performance, his wife has simultaneously utilized digital platforms to showcase their family life as a means of promoting her commercial ventures. This practice of sharing carefully curated glimpses of their children to support a lifestyle brand has drawn criticism from observers who point out the contradiction between advocating for digital child safety on a global stage while commercializing their own domestic sphere. The tension between protecting a child's appearance and managing their public exposure for commercial gain underscores the complex compromises required to maintain relevance and income in a competitive market. This dynamic mirrors the broader criticisms faced by senior royals who navigate the fine line between official duty and personal privilege. The spectacle of senior figures utilizing high-cost royal transport methods for events that blend public representation with private leisure activities often invites unfavorable public comparisons, particularly during times of widespread economic pressure. Observers frequently note the irony of public figures delivering lectures on environmental sustainability and fiscal responsibility while participating in luxury travel practices that appear more like personal perks than institutional necessities. Ultimately, whether navigating the shifting power centers within the traditional palace hierarchy or striving to build a sustainable commercial empire in exile, the modern members of the House of Windsor face the same fundamental challenge. The enduring power of the monarchy rests on its ability to project a sense of stability, purpose, and flawless public service, a task made infinitely more difficult by the realities of internal administrative friction, financial transparency, and the deeply human conflicts of a family living under constant global scrutiny.